Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to another beautiful 60-degree day here in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, and it's February. Man, that's awesome. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to talk about how we are taking care of our livestock and keeping our water tanks from freezing. Both our tanks and our water lines in a totally passive system, no electricity required. We keep our cows watered, we keep them out of the waterway, not in the creek, not in the pond. All this is ran and it works so simple. So today we'll walk you through that. We'll talk a little bit about how we're feeding our cows, rolling out hay to them, and we got a little bit of work to do on the ATV. So come along, this is a full-on farm vlog. Good time, guys. Woo!
I ain't afraid of work. I ain't afraid of play. I ain't afraid to get the job done and do it my own damn way. I ain't afraid of life. Times like this. If you mess with my freedom, I'll tell you just what you can kiss. That's right.
All right guys, welcome to the Stoney Ridge Farm. If this is your first time to the Stoney Ridge Farm channel, welcome. I think the best place to welcome you is right under this ATV. I made a boo-boo, and my boo-boo was installing this receiver hitch on the back of my ATV. What this did, and you'll see in just a little bit when we start unrolling hay, we'll get a little footage of that. It made this thing a lever to do this. Bang, 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 bang. Twist the axle on the ATV. What I really needed to do was simply place a 2-inch ball on the hitch on the ATV. This was too much. This was overdoing it and stressing the axle and the ATV a whole lot. And I can see on my shock and strut back here, I've got a little bit of wear. So first thing I got to do is quickly remove that. Hopefully, the 2-inch ball that I have will work. Hopefully the bolt isn't too big, but that's what I've got to do. Oh, goodness gracious. And it shouldn't be that bad. Guys, if you don't have one of these wrenches, it's called a spud wrench. If you don't have one, it's got a pointy tip on it. That's the best wrench ever to have on your tractor. If you're lining up pins and stuff like that, I'll post a link down the video description. And so you guys know, pound that like button, jump in, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you back here on the Stoney Ridge Farm with me. I'm gonna knock this job out, I hope, fairly quickly. And I got a pipe wrench because it's easier to put a ball on with a pipe wrench than it is to put it on with a regular wrench. You'll see. Okay. All right, here's what we have. So that's a receiver that goes on an ATV. It's handy to have, but not so handy when it comes down to it, when it comes to overstressing your axle. I did a video installing this critter, and again, that's the receiver part, and that is for an ATV right there. So probably use this on a lawnmower or something like that, maybe to pull a trailer around, but no good for the UTV or ATV. Now, is this 2-inch ball gonna work? I think the bolt is gonna be too big to get through here. Oh. It's a good thing I've got a lot of spare parts. We're gonna go see if we can find a 2-inch ball with a little bit smaller bolt system. Bummer, thought I had it. See you in just a second. All right, we got her. I had to pull one of these off of my other receiver. That's a 2-inch ball. That's what the Greg Judy baling roller takes, is a 2-inch ball. I recommend when you buy a ball to install on anything, I recommend buying one that you can put an actual wrench on. It's helpful, very, very helpful. And again, we'll put a little bit of blue thread locker on this guy. Drop him in, perfect fit. I'll post a link to this stuff in the video description. Get this bale of hay hooked up, go roll it out, and we'll talk about how we have kept the cows watered all winter long without pipes freezing. Yeah. He's on there snug. Now you can see what I mean. That's a huge lever. And another problem I had was this thing would wag back and forth if you didn't get it all the way tight. This is really gonna help us out a whole lot. But it's gonna be more difficult for me to get under this Copen rack to lay the baling roller ball on top. We'll show you. Let's go hook it up, pull the bale out. Okay, let me just roll her up on there. It's a bit more of a reach to get up underneath there. Let me show you guys what we've got and what we're working with. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen this stuff, this is all wonderful information for a homesteader or a guy starting a new farm. So our ATV is a Honda Foreman 500. This is a Greg Judy bale unroller. There's a link in every video description to this guy right here. This is an instrumental part of our farming operation. We're gonna back this up. We'll drive these two spikes into this hay bale, crank up the little crank arm, and we'll carry it all the way across the farm, and we'll have a low footprint in wet weather. And that's what it's all about, not leaving ruts in your field. Cool? We'll get her hooked up. Guys, you might notice a different vehicle is back on the farm. We have Mrs. Stoney Ridge back on the farm. Tune into tomorrow's video. We'll give you a few more details about that, okay? We've gone through some struggles and we've been apart for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Yep, so we'll have a little bit more discussion about that in Sunday's video. See you tomorrow on that one. Let's go feed the cows. All right, open the gate up, honey. Mrs. Stoney Ridge is our #1 gate opener here on the farm. Don't let the cows out. Woohoo! Come on, girls. All right, guys, so the cows are chomping at the bit to get this hay, and this one's got a string in its mouth already. This is something we got to fight whenever we're working with the cows out here. We don't want them to get hay string in their gut. So typically I'll do this, I'll cut this string before I go in, but today, for the video's sake, we're doing it right now. Now we're gonna unroll this hay bale, and it's got a briar in it. I just got poked by it. Typically I'll be wearing gloves, but you'll see how easy, and you can pan the camera over there, Danielle, if you'd like, or Mrs. Stoney Ridge. You can pan the camera over and show the bale unroller. Ugh. That's what the bale unroller looks like. Good deal. I can't boo-boo. Sometimes I'll stick the knife in the hay bale and totally forget that I did it, so I gotta make sure I don't do that. And this is a Gerber center drive. It's what I use on the ATV, the UTV, keep them in all the trucks. Awesome tool. Let's unroll some hay. All right, guys, we'll drop the bale just like so. I actually removed the strap. I just talked to Greg last night. He said, take the strap off or you run a risk of getting things entangled. I think we also run a risk of being bombarded by the cows. Our bale's down on the ground. Fire up the four-wheeler and unroll on the land. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that footage of us rolling the bale out to the cows. That was a daily operation here in the wintertime. It's gonna be a daily operation until we run out of hay. And you can see up on this hillside right here, there is not a lot of forage. In other words, it's a lot of dirt, a lot of red dirt, clay, and we're trying to get some carbon down on that clay, and that hay bale is a nice big fat seed bank. So you can see the results of it right over here where the grass, the new fresh grass, is coming up nice and green. Springtime is on the way. We had our cows over here on this side of the farm for part of the winter, part of the coldest part of the winter. We have a water system that's a siphon system. It comes out of the pond up here, comes all the way down the hill, and feeds these 2 water tanks that are right here. We're also going to add water tanks on down the line. Now, the way we had this, here in North Carolina, our temperatures probably got down to a low of about 14 degrees this year. If you're in a place that the pond freezes this thick, then you might not be able to accomplish this. However, if you get your intake pipe, and we'll go up there and show it to you here in just a minute, you get your intake pipe and filter down below about 16 inches, and you probably can do this in any situation, in any temperature. What I have right now, and you can see this hose bib right here is running. Water is running out. It's running into a bucket so that it doesn't dig a hole basically with the water hitting. In the evening time and the nighttime, when the temperatures are going to drop down below freezing, I would simply turn that hose bib on, and that 55 degree water, 55, 45, 55 degree water would come out of the pond and cycle through this system and keep it all thawed out and keep any pipes from freezing and busting, or any joints from freezing and busting. Now, we're gonna ride up to the top of the hill. We'll show you the pond is way up there. I'm gonna say we are somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 feet of pipe between right here and the pond. Now, on down the line right here, we can see we've got pipe also. This pipe is not buried underground. This is a temporary water system that I have in place right now just to get us through our first year with our cows. And you can see all I got to do is reach here, and it's not going to be freezing anymore tonight, which is awesome. So our freezing nights are over here in our North Carolina area. That will stay off, and this will continue to feed these water tanks with no energy whatsoever. It's a full-on siphon system. I do have a backflow prevention valve right here. It's a check valve, and I do have a valve right here in case I want to prime the system and I want to send water all the way down the line to keep it from freezing. So I can turn this on, and it drops right back into the creek. No water is being wasted here. In other words, when you see that water running in that bucket, it's not being wasted. It's running right to the creek, which is directly behind us, okay? The creek is right there. So instead of running over the pond dam or running through the pond pipe and being wasted in the creek, it's being used. Let's go up there and I'll show you the filter system. It's really cool. Before I show you the filter system, let's show you the valve system. So right here, I've got, this is 3/4 inch poly line. I've got a T right here that runs down to a shut-off valve, so I can shut each tank off. I only want to run one tank. I can let the cows drink all the water out of this tank, clean it out, turn it on, then let them drink all the water out of the other tank, clean it out, and turn it on. So after the winter time, we'll probably clean these tanks out, give them a good scrubbing with some soap and water, get them rinsed out, and then start them back up. There is a float valve right here. I'll post a link to it. This is the float valve. It's never frozen. It's never given me any trouble whatsoever. And I think that's a Dare float valve. I'm not positive. But each tank has a setup like that. So we've got a T, 3/4 down to a 3/4 inch PVC valve right there. And we've got these float valves right here. I'll stock tank float valves. I'll post links to them in the video description for you. Super, super, super handy. We're also getting ready to start our intensive grazing program here on the farm. So there'll be water tank, water tank, water tank, water tank, water tank, all over, all the way down this fence line. And we'll have rows, and we'll move the cows in through different rows. We'll probably give them about 1.5 acres per day. We're up here on the pond dam, guys. This is the pond. It's about a 2-acre pond. Good clean water comes off of a great source right here. If you look down this direction, you'll see the poly pipe. It runs right straight down through there. You can see we've got a tree kind of falling apart there too. We had a big old oak tree die. So I was way down there where the tanks are just a little bit ago, way right over there. And this 3/4 inch poly line runs all the way through, and it just runs through the grass right here. So I have to be conscious of it when I mow. We also have, and what I learned is don't run over this pipe, okay? So if you're gonna run a siphon system, you need to bury the line or don't run over the pipe. This is called cable protector. So I've got cable protector right here, and the 3/4 inch poly pipe runs through that cable protector. That's it. That way I can run over it. I also have these at the gate when I enter down there at the bottom of the hill. That way I can run over that with the ATV and the bale unroller and not worry about squishing the poly. You don't want to squish it because it's gonna mess up your siphon. Here we are at the filter system. This is the filter setup. And what you have right here is a 2-inch piece of Schedule 40 PVC, and it's mated up to this 3/4 inch line. Down under the water, right at about 16 inches where the cleanest water is. That's why it has a float on there, so it floats out there to hold that thing down about 16 inches. There is another piece of PVC with a piece of screen wrapped around it, okay? If I pull it out right now, I'll lose prime and I'll have to go back and reprime the whole system. So I don't want to pull it out because the cows just drank a bunch of water. However, I'll post a link right up here, scrolling link that'll show you this whole water system and how the whole thing was set up when I originally built it. Have I had any troubles with this? Let's talk about troubleshooting and all that stuff, how we kept this from freezing, we kept it running. Troubleshooting wise, we did have trouble in the hot summer. I'll explain. So in the roasting hot part of the summer, when the temperatures were above 90 degrees, what happened with that black poly pipe, and you saw that black poly pipe as it was running along the top of the fence line. The mistake that I made is running it on the top of the fence line in some ways. I did run it along the ground right here, and that's keeping it from freezing and actually keeping the temperature up just a little bit as it travels down the line, so it won't instantly freeze. I'm gonna say if your temperature is below 14 degrees, something like that, maybe 12 degrees, you're gonna get a freeze inside the pipe. No matter how much it's running, you're gonna get a freeze. In the summertime, when it's over 90 degrees, I had trouble with losing prime. The reason I lost prime is because the water inside the pipe would get really hot and little air bubbles would get in that and it would travel up. So the whole setup here, the whole system is designed, we're in a high spot and we're taking water to a low spot. It will siphon, but air bubbles go uphill, so air bubbles travel to the top, and thus we would lose siphon over and over again. I solved that problem by getting a little drill pump, and about every 3 days when it was over 90 degrees, whether I need to or not, I'd hook to that valve that you saw me turn off and just run it constantly, and inevitably it would burp out a little bit of air. So that was the maintenance that I had to do. So if we went on a trip 4 or 5 days, a week out of town, I could go do that, come back, and the cattle would still have plenty of water. Now, you're probably thinking, man, that system seems good, except for those cows, the water's gonna be so hot in their tanks. Well, you gotta think about it logically. Those are 100-gallon stock tanks. When you get ready to pour 3 gallons of warm or hot water in a 100-gallon stock tank that has 55 or 60 degree water, will it heat that water up? No, not really. It won't heat it up that much. Obviously, the water at the top of the tank is going to be warmer than the water at the bottom of the tank, but it'll evenly disperse the heat, and I never had a hot water problem. Cold water, on the other hand, is a bit obnoxious to a cow. Cows don't like to drink cold, super cold water, which is perfect when we have a pond where the temperature remains almost constant year-round at about 16 inches deep. And that temperature ranges anywhere between 45 and 55 or 60 degrees. It's perfect, guys. This system is super cool. On the other side of the farm, our water system is on the well, and it's also on ram pumps. So we've got some ram pump videos. We'll go over there on the other side once we move the cattle over to the other side of the farm. We get some good grass over there. We'll move them over and we'll show you the ram pump system. Many more ram pumps going in. We're actually going to drill an agricultural well over here, so stick around on the channel. We're going to put in some frost-free water tanks. We're going to have all sorts of cool stuff, guys. Show you all the mistakes and all the triumphs that we make building our first generation farm. So that's what it's all about here on the Stoney Ridge, and having some fun, enjoying ourselves, getting out on the four-wheeler, doing a little riding, having some fun. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge Farm. All right?
Come on down to the Stoney Ridge, bring your wife and